Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something really quite fundamental to our sense of security. It's the unsettling reality of home intrusions. We've had some really powerful stories shared by you, our listeners, about those moments when, the safety you just expect in your own home, it was threatened.
Yeah, in really unexpected ways. It hits you right where you live, quite literally. That feeling of vulnerability in the one place you're meant to feel completely safe.
Oh, yeah.
And what's really striking about the stories we're looking at today is, well, they often go beyond that typical idea of like a forced entry.
Right.
They hint at tactics that are more nuanced and honestly, maybe more disturbing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to delve into 3 specific incidents that you've shared with us. Each one has its own unique flavor of fear, I guess you could say. Think about like someone lurking outside a child's window night after night, or a deceptive knock that's actually cover for someone getting inside.
And that third one, the shadowy figure, just the ambiguity of it, was someone there, inside.
Outside. It really gets you. And what ties these together, as you said, isn't necessarily brute force. It's about manipulation sometimes, or exploiting a moment, violating that perceived safety.
Right. It highlights how intruders don't always need to break something down. Sometimes the real breach is psychological, or it comes through stealth, eroding your peace of mind without making a sound.
So our mission today really is to unpack these experiences. We want to understand the nuances and maybe pull out some key insights about security, about awareness that go beyond just, lock your doors.
Let's start with the first one, Asheville 2017.
Okay, yeah. So picture this. You got a college student, she's babysitting 2 young kids, and these kids are already going through something tough. They're grieving.
So there's already this layer of vulnerability just baked into the situation, an emotionally fragile environment.
Exactly. And then into this setting comes this really insidious fear. The children start reporting something.
What did they see?
They said over several nights that they saw a man outside their bedroom window.
Oh, wow. Several nights.
3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And the babysitter, she checks, looks around, doesn't see anything. You can just imagine her anxiety building. Is this grief playing tricks? Is it their imagination, or is it real?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You'd naturally try to rationalize it, especially with kids. But 3 nights, that persistence starts to feel like more than just imagination.
It really does.
And it strikes me that an intruder might even rely on that, the potential for the kid's story to be initially dismissed.
Until it couldn't be. On that 3rd night, the babysitter sees him too.
She actually saw him.
Yeah, a tall silhouette.
Yeah.
Standing there, outside the children's bedroom window, still.
That lack of movement is particularly menacing, isn't it? It suggests intent, purpose, not just someone passing by.
And right outside the kid's window.
Clearly predatory. Makes you think about the planning involved. How long had he been watching?
And the aftermath is just chilling. Police were called. They found him hiding in the bushes nearby.
They caught him.
They did. In his confession, he just said, I was waiting to take them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that level of cold calculation, the explicit intent aimed at vulnerable children. It's deeply disturbing.
It really highlights a terrifying aspect of these kinds of situations, the patience involved, the focused targeting. This wasn't impulsive. It speaks to stalking, planning. It really raises the bar for what kind of vigilance is needed, doesn't it? It's not just about stopping someone getting in, but recognizing threats before they escalate.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Tulsa, also 2017.
Yeah.
This story involves deception in a really direct way. A 13-year-old girl, home presumably alone.
Okay.
It starts with this loud, aggressive pounding on the front door.
Right, designed to create panic, alarm, make you react without thinking.
Exactly. And then a man's voice claiming her mother's been in an accident, hurt, urging her to open the door or come outside.
Wow, that's direct manipulation of, a child's worst fear about their parents. How effective is that usually?
It taps right into that immediate emotional reaction, yeah. It tries to bypass any caution. But this girl, she showed incredible presence of mind.
What did she do?
She asked a simple question. What's my mom's name?
Smart. And the response?
Nothing. Just silence.
That silence says everything, doesn't it? Instantly exposes the lie.
Completely. But here's where it gets even more terrifying. While she's at the door, dealing with this silence, this failed manipulation, she hears footsteps from inside the house.
Oh no, so while she was distracted at the front door,
someone else was already inside. The threat wasn't just at the door anymore, it was within her home.
That feeling of being breached silently while your attention is pulled elsewhere, That's a profound violation. It suggests real cunning. How did they get in?
He'd climbed in through an upstairs window, used the commotion at the front door as a diversion.
Wow. So calculated. Exploiting that moment. It makes you wonder, like the last case, how long was he watching the house? Planning this?
That's the chilling question, isn't it? Was it purely opportunistic, seeing the girl alone? Or was it surveillance, waiting for the right moment?
It really underscores the need to secure all potential entry points, even the ones you might think are less obvious, like second floor windows. And the fact he was just gone by the time police arrived. Just broken glass left behind, a silent entry, a silent escape. It adds another layer of unease.
Okay, our final story. This one takes us to Spokane, 2016. And it has this different kind of dread. More ambiguous, maybe, but just as unsettling.
Ambiguous how?
It starts with a man woken up around midnight, knocking at his front door.
Okay.
He goes to the door, looks out, checks. Nobody there.
The phantom knock, that's designed to unsettle, right? Make you doubt what you heard, put you on edge. What's the psychological angle there?
It creates that immediate sense of unease. Yeah, something's not right. But it didn't stop there. The next night, it escalates.
What happened then?
He looks out again, and this time he sees someone, a figure, peering in through the glass pane on his front door.
Whoa, okay, so now it's visual, not just a sound. Someone actively watching the house.
Yeah, a shadowy presence just looking in.
That moves it from unknown disturbance to, like, tangible menace, doesn't it? Especially at night. What does that kind of overt surveillance suggest?
Well, here's the really disturbing part. The police came, checked around, found absolutely no signs of forced entry. Nothing broken, nothing jimmied.
So, how did they get so close? How did they potentially get in if they did? That's the terrifying question mark, isn't it?
Exactly. It leaves you wondering, did they pick a lock, find an unlocked door somewhere else? Or worse, had they already been inside at some point?
That absence of evidence, it really amplifies the vulnerability. It suggests maybe a more sophisticated method or just pure stealth. It undermines that basic trust in locks and windows.
And then, a crucial piece of information surfaced later. A neighborhood watch bulletin.
Ah, community info. What did it say?
It described a tall man in black who had been seen lurking near bedrooms in the area.
Okay, so that potentially connects his shadowy figure to a pattern, not just an isolated incident for him.
Right. Suddenly it feels less random and more like targeted behavior. A predator potentially operating nearby, watching homes.
That really highlights the value of neighbors looking out for each other, sharing information.
For sure. But for this homeowner, the terror was in the not knowing. Was that shadow just outside his door? Or had that person already crossed the threshold at some point, unseen?
That ambiguity.
Yeah, that lack of certainty. I think that's a huge part of the psychological impact here.
Oh, absolutely. Not knowing is incredibly corrosive to your sense of safety. It can lead to constant anxiety, hypervigilance. Sometimes the unknown threat feels worse than one you can actually see and react to.
So when you step back and look at all three of these stories, Asheville, Tulsa, Spokane, what really stands out is that common thread, right? It wasn't brute force.
No.
The intruders were exploiting vulnerabilities, using deception, operating with stealth, things that didn't involve, smashing a window necessarily.
Right. These stories really underscore a critical point, I think. The most insidious intrusions, maybe the scariest ones, aren't always about physical power. They often target our psychology.
How so?
Well, our trust, our fears, like with the Tulsa case, or just catching us off guard, exploiting a moment of distraction.
It really brings to mind that stark quote or idea that seems to come up. The scariest intruders don't break down doors, they make you open them.
Exactly. Whether it's through a lie, creating a diversion like the footsteps inside, or just being that unseen presence that makes you doubt your own safety in your own home.
And that's a really important takeaway for you listening, I think. We focus so much on better locks, cameras, alarms, the physical stuff.
Which are important, obviously.
Of course. But these accounts remind us that our own awareness, our vigilance in situations that feel off, maybe trusting our gut feeling, that can be just as vital. A healthy dose of skepticism sometimes.
It's a defense layer, too.
So the practical lesson, maybe slightly unnerving, is just being incredibly mindful. Who's at the door? Why are they really there?
Right.
Being cautious about unusual interactions, even if they seem harmless at first.
Mm-hmm. And those basic habits, locking all doors, all windows, even upstairs ones, they take on a new weight when you hear stories like the Tulsa incident.
Definitely.
It reinforces that security isn't just about the hardware you install, it's also a mindset, right?
Yeah.
Cultivating that proactive awareness, not being paranoid, but being present. Trusting your intuition if something feels wrong, recognizing that people can exploit vulnerabilities in really subtle ways.
So as you go about your day today, maybe just take a moment. Think about the less obvious ways your own sense of security might be challenged. What could be those unseen vulnerabilities in your home, maybe, or even just in your daily routines?
And what steps beyond the usual locks and lights might be worth considering? It's kind of a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is, but these real experiences really bring it home. Maybe consider those subtle cues around you, things that might signal an unseen presence, or perhaps an attempt at manipulation starting. What does your gut tell you?